Hi YouTube, my name is Earica Alexander Cole, and today I'm going to be talking about something pretty personal. I've been battling now for months of if I was going to even share this, how I was going to share it. I utilize social media a lot, but I just didn't want to do a Facebook Live talking about this, so I thought about recording it and kind of having a journal of it. So this is the most comfortable way for me, although it's so uncomfortable. Like I said, I use social media a lot, but I'm still a private person with a lot of things near and dear to my heart. But so I actually, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am currently 42 years old. I live currently now in the Tampa, Florida area. I've been here for a few months. Prior to that, I lived in Alabama for like a year and a half, a year and some change. And before that, Atlanta for like 11 years. And then before that, I was in New Orleans for a bit right before Katrina. And before that, I lived in the Tampa, Florida area, which is where I'm back now. But I was born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida. So had a pretty productive life. Done very well in corporate America, and now I'm a full-time entrepreneur, and I do really, really well in that business. So I'm at a point in my life that I'm settled. I am married. I have one stepson who will be 16 next year, so he's 15 now. But I don't have any biological children, and so I think a lot of my family, friends, or even circle assume it's by choice because I've been always so driven with my career. But I'm here to share with you all today that that has not been my choice. And I apologize that this video will probably be really emotional for me. So I already got my rag, so we'll get through this together. So this will be very raw and uncut. When I was much younger, I got married real early to my first husband. We were married for about 5 years and never had children, of course. And then after I got divorced and I moved to the Atlanta area, where I met my current husband, my best friend, Brian, and we started dating in 2006. So we dated for 5 years before we decided to get married, and so I got married in 2011. So when I started dating him, I was literally 29 years old, still really young. I hadn't tried for children. I had been on birth control pills since I was 18 years old. So at that time, my focus was my education and my career, and I was like, okay, that will come. So I kind of prioritized in that way. But once we got married, I was like, okay, I'm ready. You know, I'm 32 years old. It's time to start having these babies. Like I said, I have a stepson, so he was near and dear to my heart, and I love him to pieces. And so we basically have been raising him since we got married, and I basically became an instant mom in the house. And so I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. You know, I'm 32, 33 now. Let's have some babies. So we started trying, and we tried for, honestly, I want to say about a year and a half with no success. So started like, what's going on? Like, you know, I got cousins and friends like, yo, they come off their birth control pills, or they time their cycle, and boom, they're pregnant. And, you know, I had gotten my ovulation calendar downloaded some, you know, different apps and things that I was using on the internet. No success. So I just went to my regular GYN and shared with her that, you know, I had been trying to conceive and without any luck. And she asked for how long. She said, she looked at my age and everything, and she said, okay, well, she started me on this treatment, you know, real low dosage. I was taking, I think it was Clomid was the first one that I was taking. And so I began to take Clomid, and you know, I did that for probably like 90 days with no success. We continued that for a couple more months, no success. And I was like, yeah, there's something else here. We learned that I had 2 cysts, but they were very small cysts. So she asked me, she said, would you like to have the cysts removed? And I was like, yeah. So did that. I'm like, okay, it's go time. Let's get it done. Still no success. But I wasn't worried still. I was just kind of like, my body's doing its thing. I have sickle cell anemia, and so I've always wondered, was that going to be an issue with me having children? But I know several people, including people in my family, that have sickle cell anemia, and they've given birth. So I wasn't really worried. It was just one of those things that I thought of in the back of my mind. So then I decided, okay, she said, are you ready to see a specialist? And I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and get it done. I started researching like infertility and some of my options. And so I was like, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and get this done. Financially, I was okay with the immediate options, and so we actually found a fertility clinic in the Atlanta area that was well known. Excuse me. And we went to that fertility clinic, met them, had those conversations. They did the blood work. They did all kind of testing on me. Of course, had conversations with the physicians there. And one of the things that they told me, through the process, number one, they told me I was obese. And I was like, what? So I was like, come on now. That's harsh. Like, I am not obese, but they were like, based off of my age, my height, when, I could lose a few pounds, watch when I was eating or whatever. So then when my blood work came back, it was identified that I had what's called PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. And I was like, what the heck is that? Honestly, throughout my, childhood and young adult life, my cycles were normal. But at one point it just got irregular for like almost like a year, and kind of heavy. And I was like, okay, so maybe this has something to do with it. So they put me on, and basically, with PCOS, like some of the symptoms are obesity, high cholesterol. You're on the verge of, you don't necessarily have to be diabetic, but you could become diabetic. So there were some things that they wanted to balance out before we went into the actual process, of what my next stages could possibly be. And so I started taking metformin. They put me on metformin, started off with 500 milligrams, and then they increased the dosage to 850 or 800 milligrams. And I was taking them, and I'm still taking them 3 times a day. So I was like, okay, I did that, lost a few pounds or whatever. And it's like, okay, let's go time. So then when they started checking my insides, it was determined that I have what's called a tilted uterus. And so your uterus, ladies, sits up and down. But with the tilted uterus, my uterus basically sat back towards my back. And I was like, okay, like, how's that going to work, So, they told me it wasn't a big deal. People would have tilted uterus all the time and give birth. And I'm like, well, will I suffer miscarriages or what? And it was like, that hasn't been proven. Let's just see what happens. So my husband and I decided to go through the insemination process, where basically they take his sperm, they put it in this tube, and pour it in me where it's supposed to go. But before that, you have to go through these treatments. So I was taking shots, like shots in my stomach. I was taking all kind of pills. So here we are, about 3 or 4 years into marriage. And I was like a pin doll, doing this. And so we did it the first time. It didn't work. So here we go. All right, Earica, we got to do it again. Get back on the shots, the pills. Do it the second time. It doesn't work. So we have, it's like, how many times you get to do this? So decided to do it again. We did it again. And then after that, I needed a break. I was like, okay, like, this is a lot. I need a break. So my husband and I decided to kind of chill out and give it a rest. Let my body rest from, I'm sorry, y'all, from the injections. So we waited a little bit. I was going through something with an employer at the time too. Decided, that employer was no longer the place for me. Started up with a new employer, learning a lot. It was a role that I had never done before. So, you know, I was again career focused, and I was like, okay, I'm stressed with this process, and I need to focus on this job. So, not trying. I didn't get on any birth control pills, but I wasn't seeing the doctor regularly like I had been doing. And so we just kind of took a little chill and said, okay. And my husband's been so optimistic through this entire process. And he's like, it's going to happen, you know, whatever it takes, we'll get it done. And I was like, okay. So, I want my body to take a break from all the needles and everything. And so we chillaxed on that, continued to, you know, just try to conceive. Still nothing happened. And so when I was ready, I was like, okay, it's time for me to go back to these doctors. After about a year, we started it again. Then they decided that I needed to do this procedure, or basically they check my tubes, you know, to see if there's any issues with my tubes. They pour, they call it a surgery, but they knock you out, and basically they pour dye through your tubes to kind of look in there, see what's going on. I don't know, I can't remember the medical terminology for it, but it was determined that my tubes were clear. I was all good. Now, wait a minute. I think they did that actually before I did my first insemination, but that was one of the procedures that I had to do. And so that was determined that my tubes were good, you know. And again, checking everything else, there's never been anything that was identified at that time wrong with me. So why am I not getting pregnant? So we decided to do insemination again. And so we did it 2 more times. So we've done insemination 5 times, maybe 6, but I know I could see 5 of them, but 5 times we've decided to do insemination with no luck. And you do it, give myself a couple months, do it again. And so this insemination process was probably like 2 years straight of us doing that with no luck. And so we knew other options were available, but infertility is not something that's, you know, medically covered at 100%. So most of it you pay out of pocket for through that process. So like every time that insemination process was happening, out of pocket, you know, it would be anywhere from $3 to $4 grand, you know, with the medications and the process itself. So here we are, like at this point, about, you know, out of pocket like $25,000 almost, and still no baby. So it was one of those things. My husband would be like, you know, my husband has always researched IVF. And I was just like, no, I was working in an industry at the time, mortgage industry, where I would see people do home equity loans to do, you know, IVF. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not willing to go into debt basically on a maybe. Like, that's just too much. And so I really battled with that for probably about a year. Then I got a great opportunity. We moved to Alabama. And when I was there in Alabama, I was like, I don't want to go back and forth to Atlanta. So let me find a local fertility clinic. And we found one in Birmingham, Alabama. And after doing research there, I was like, okay, let's go here. We had the conversations. They had Atlanta, sent all of my files and paperwork there. And then, you know, God bless her, the doctor, the physician at Birmingham was so incredible. She was so incredibly kind and so informative. So she basically wanted to do some additional testing. She said, let's dig a little deeper with her experience and everything. So again, y'all, I apologize. So she wanted to, you know, go and check things out again. So I had more procedures done to kind of, you know, evaluate my uterus, my insides as a woman. And it was determined then that I had what's called a heart-shaped uterus. And so basically what that basically meant, I knew I had a tilted uterus, that's what I was told in Atlanta, but I had never heard that I had a heart-shaped uterus. And again, I don't know I can't remember the actual, I love it when they break it down for you that way. I don't know the actual medical terminology for it, but she advised us, strongly suggested that I have surgery to basically put an incision and correct my uterus. It's basically like a correction of your uterus. So I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, of course, got to pay out of pocket for that. I'm like, Jesus, kid's costing me so much, and he or she's not even here yet. So we did that, had the surgery, was down for, just a few days. It was very, it wasn't intense. My family's always been very supportive, so they would come to Birmingham, when I would do different procedures. And so did the surgery to correct my uterus. And then I was told I needed to wait, at least 90 days before we move forward, which was what we had decided to do, which is called IVF. So we literally waited. I got the surgery done in January of 2018. After I had been in Birmingham, maybe by that time, about 3 or 4 months. So, did the surgery in January of 2018. And so we decided to start the IVF process. Again, no, we did one insemination there. Did one insemination. That's the 6th one. We did one insemination there. I was like, I want to give the low budget one more shot. Like, okay. So we did that. No success. And I'm like, okay, this didn't work. And this is, number 6. Let's do the IVF. And so we decided to do the IVF. And we, learned a lot about that. We went through counseling about it. Just kind of weighing the options. We had to really talk to somebody about, the probability of it not working. Will it be a financial strain on you? And, honestly, the money has not been an issue thus far, because of my career. And so we were like, yeah, we want to get it done. So after we went through that process, had those deep conversations, those late night conversations, my inner circle, their encouragement, everybody's been so encouraging in my surroundings about it. My mother's a praying woman, so her prayers, have not been in vain. And my family, my uncle, my aunts, and so everybody's been very supportive of what we're doing, that new. So we decided to do IVF, and that was probably like November. But by the time I go through the whole process of the medications, the ultrasounds, the checking this, the needles again, because you're basically shooting your body and your with hormones and all kind of stuff. And so we decided to do that, and we did it in November of 2018. The first one, and I was actually had been waiting on the results. My husband and I went on a trip to Costa Rica for during the holidays, and they call us and told us about, basically at that point they take so what IVF is. They take the sperm, your partner's sperm, and your eggs, and so they basically monitor everything. We did the genetic testing, the whole 9. I've always, when I have children, I'm praying and asking God that my child don't have sickle cell anemia. My husband doesn't have the trait, so there's basically a 50% chance, that the child has sickle cell anemia because mommy has it. So we wanted to do the genetic testings, and of course, by that time, my age, I'm 40, when I'm going through this process. Want to make sure there's no Down syndrome and all this kind of thing. So basically that you have healthy eggs. And so all of that is done. We pay for all of those testings to be done. And even the testing, whatever's left for freezing of the eggs and all that kind of stuff. So that was a process. Once we did that and they kind of monitored the eggs, I got a call. I'll never forget it. I was with my best friend in Dallas, go Cowboys, at a game, and we were actually at the Verizon store before the game, and I got that call, and basically my doctor at the time was like, yeah, this isn't going to work, your eggs are no good. Sorry, y'all. These eggs are no good. We started off with like 12 good eggs, and they go through the daily process, and by it got to the end, it was like the survival rate wasn't there, disseminated. So she basically said, we could do it again, but I was so crushed my husband and I have had a really great life together. I've basically done almost everything I've wanted to do in life. I've been a fighter. I have beat all odds. But as a woman, when you're basically told that what should be natural for women to do, that you can't do it, it's just been a mental, it's been hard. It's been really hard. And so I went to the game. I was like, I need this. Like, we went to the game. My best friend, like I said, was so supportive and so loving, and she was, honestly, I think I needed her there versus my husband, because me and him had gone through, you know, this for years, and just that whole, I needed to say it to another woman. I needed to tell another woman how I truly felt about this. And so, and I needed it to be raw. So God made sure that happened. So after that, we came back. I came back, scheduled the appointment with my fertility doctor, and, you know, still she's like, you know, it's not over, you know, we're gonna do this again, and if not, there's other alternatives, like keep, you know, going. But I've been so exhausted. And my husband, I just kept telling my husband, like, maybe it's just not for me to have children. And he was like, don't speak that. Like, we're going to get this done. Like, we're going to have children. And, you know, you want to give birth, that's going to happen. And God has positioned us to where that can happen now. And so we're going to get it done. And so I just needed a minute, you know, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this again. Sure enough, we scheduled the next IVF, go through the rigmarole of it. And then that doctor decides to retire. So I get introduced to a new doctor at the same clinic, very experienced as well. We go through the process and the IVF process again. But I was in the process of moving to Tampa, Florida. So I've been flying back and forth between Tampa and Birmingham, Alabama, to do the IVF procedure and process. Found a local physician here to kind of, there's some things I can do here, and they can send the records same day. And so we did the IVF process again, and it was not successful. And so now we're at, let's do it again. And so I will be leaving out to go to Birmingham again, to do IVF treatment again. I'm going through, like I said, the entire process. After the second one, she basically, after the second one, because it was very difficult, you know, IVF isn't supposed to hurt. And so, they don't even put you to sleep. And so it was difficult. So we decided, she wanted to check my tubes. And so, we did what's called a hysteroscopy locally. We found another clinic here, and basically that's another surgery I had to do when I got here. When I tell you, my body has been like through it. So we did the hysteroscopy here, where they go and check, because they wanted to see, was there any scar tissue from the surgery that I had. And so we did that, and everything's clear. So now just preparing for what will be my third IVF process. Where am I mentally with that? I don't know. You know, I'm kind of numb. I know I'm tired, but I'm trusting God. So I'll let you all on this journey with me. But again, it don't have to be done this way. There's no way I could do this live, reading comments and all that kind of stuff. So for anybody out there that's struggling with infertility, I never knew it was so many women, like so many. Like, I thought I was like rare. There's groups and support groups out there, but you're not alone. Don't think you're weak. There's nothing wrong with you. You're still a woman in every aspect of being a woman. I know my strength. I know how God uses me. And so This is my test, but I know in the end I'm going to win. And in the meantime, if he needs to use me to tell this story, I'm here. All right, y'all. I'll talk to you later. Bye.